That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah!
What the fuck are you talking about?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour, live from our own personal studios in our respective homes, following COVID protocol, unlike the Washington Capitals. We welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Happy Hour live. I'm Matt Studi, along with the Dark Wing, Brian Daly.
What up?
And the Broken One, Rob Povia.
You know, Joe Exotic's still waiting for that pardon.
And today we are brought to you by, as always, Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal. You can find him at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. You can make an appointment for one of his locations in Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey. They'll take care of your aches and pains, both mentally and physically. And today, the Twitter poll question is brought to you by All Campus OC. Listen, man, if you need some sports memorabilia, and if you're down in the Ocean City area, or if you visit their website, I'm sure they'd be able to help you out there. Listen, man, you always got to rock your team pride, and what better way to do it than to go to All Campus OC? And they're bringing the poll question to you, and that is, the Flyers-Bruins rivalry fits perfectly in this division. Agree or disagree? And, gentlemen, I'm definitely in full agreement on that one. What about you?
Oh, of course, man. I mean, that's what this 56-game season's all about, heightening current rivalries and bringing back old ones. And when you talk about old-time rivalries, they get none fiercer than the Flyers-Bruins. So it fits right in line with this Eastern Division.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a big part of the plan was to get some of these rivalries riled back up, and I think you started to see it a little bit. You saw a couple nasty little hits here and there, some cross checks here and there, and you hear it back. It's definitely back. So for sure, I'm in full agreement.
All right, so before we get into it, we're going to talk about Flyers post-game, but before we do that, we have a brand new sponsor here on A2DRadio.com. Mr. Darkwing, you have the read. Take it away.
Many of us and our families deal with mental health and addiction issues. We are so happy to support the Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. If you need mental health therapy or addiction detox, please call 856-651-1817 and tell them Tom sent you. So if you have anybody in this situation that you know that needs the help, have them reach out, get them the help they need.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to wait with addiction. You want to get that taken care of as soon as possible. So, let's talk about it. I got a lot of things to say right now about how that was fucking bullshit on the Flyers' part in coughing up a 2-0 lead in the third fucking period, coming out flat as a goddamn pancake, allowing the Bruins to tie the fucking game, struggling in their own fucking defensive zone, can't fucking get the puck out, giving turnovers away, not winning board battles, not being aggressive, not getting people in front of Tuukka Rask, not doing their goddamn fucking job. What the flying fuck do you expect to happen when you're playing a team like the Bruins? You expect them to roll over and play fucking dead after going down 2-0? Guess what? They broke their even strength drought because you let them. And not only that, too, but you also fucking left Carter Hart out there on an island half the time. And was Hart perfect tonight? No. He left a few rebounds out there. I'll give you that one. But it's too easy to blame him for the lack of fucking defensive effort from this team. And turnovers! What the flying fuck was that? What was that? You have nobody but your fucking selves to blame for this loss. Look in the goddamn mirror and realize you didn't measure up to the fucking Bruins tonight. You came up with just a few inches while the Bruins came out a foot fucking long. Fucking bullshit. If that's the way you're going to play this fucking season, then goddamn it, sit in the goddamn bottom of this fucking deathmatch division. That was fucking atrocious. fucking atrocious and unfucking acceptable. I don't want to hear no fucking excuses about that. That was unacceptable when you have a 2-0 lead and you piss it away and you piss the goddamn game away as well and you almost lost it in the third period too. Fucking bullshit. That's what I have to say about this game. That was disgusting. Great second period, terrible third period, and you paid for it. And then you lost in a shootout because we always lose in the shootout. How it fucking works. So at the end of the day, the Bruins won this game because the Flyers let them win this game. The Flyers could have closed this game out, and they failed to fucking do it in the third period. We were talking in a private chat on a text while the game was going on. Brian summed it up perfectly. The Flyers were terrible on even strength play, and that's what resulted in us losing. I agree whole 100% on that. The Bruins outplayed us in the third period. And that's what fucking happens. You lose in overtime. Hell, you didn't even deserve to win the fucking game after the second period. That was fucking atrocious. Fucking bullshit. You better play better on Saturday. That's all I gotta say about that. When you get a fucking lead, you fucking hold it. God damn it. Take it away, guys.
I knew you were coming in hot, man, because you brought us into this show like someone who just got cut off on the turnpike. And you just went full on Mad Matt. Absolutely. And you're justified, Matt. I mean, you're absolutely justified. A big thing that I've been noticing this whole season is the forecheck has been shit. Maybe except the first game of the season, some spurts here and there. No one is back checking effectively. It's no wonder this team has the least shots in the league and have given up the most. What is a wonder is the 3-1-1 record. You can give credit there to goaltenders, Moose standing on his head last game. And, yeah, you can't really fault Carter Hart when the defense isn't playing strong in front of him. Did he leave a lot of juicy rebounds tonight? He did. He's got to clean that up. And I'm not here to make excuses for him. That's not acceptable. But what isn't acceptable is not being responsible for your defensive assignments, especially as a forward. Nolan Patrick, and I get it, the kid hasn't played hardly any competitive hockey in the past 365 days, but he's who I'm picking on in terms of back checking. It directly led to that 2-2 tying goal from the Bruins there, and it's remarkable. It's like I told you, Maddie, without the puck luck, this team would be 1-3-1 right now instead of 3-1-1.
I think there's something you guys seem to be forgetting about a lot of teams in this league, and was why a lot of teams don't look as good as they should. There's been no preseason.
Yeah.
All these guys are coming in cold. A lot of these younger guys like Patrick and Lindblom, they're getting thrown right to the wolves. These guys can't work their way back into it. They got to go back. Like, I get it. It's a marathon. They were sloppy tonight for the most part. Defense, especially on the Nick Ritchie goal. I didn't get to watch much of the game. I got to see the third period. Nick Ritchie goal was a defensive breakdown. Somehow he wound up all alone in front of the net. But a lot of these guys has been, they're coming back from something. They're filling in roles. They're still trying to figure it out. That's a part of what the preseason is. It's only game 5 of 56. And I get Matt's point. It's a sprint. You get in too deep of a hole, you might not be able to climb out. But in that same breath, we have to realize there's no preseason. These guys are trying to figure it out.
I get that. But here's the thing. It's not like the Flyers didn't have control of this game at some point. It's not like the Flyers played like shit throughout the entire game. First period, it was a little touch and go there. Second period, the Flyers looked really good. They had the forecheck going, sustained pressure on Rask. They had a couple of power plays. They scored on a power play. And then they took a 2-0 lead just at the very end of one. The point is that they had control. And they knew the Bruins were going to come out fighting. The Bruins were down in their building. You think the Bruins are just going to sit down and take it? They're going to come at you. And the Flyers fell completely flat and allowed the Bruins to have full control in their own zone. That cannot happen. And yes, you are right, Brian. It is still very early in the season. But again, That is a trend that needs to stop. And it's been a trend that's been a problem in the last few games where in the offensive zone and the defensive zone, this team has not won many board battles. And when they do they create opportunities in the offensive zone? No, they pass the puck. Don't take shots. Lawton gave up a golden opportunity in overtime. I wanted to smack him. Like, what the fuck are you doing, Lawton? The Rask is right the fuck there, and he's not even back, and you don't shoot it? You turn around? The fuck? It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And Prism, you have a good point. But with that comment he made earlier.
And also thank Prism for the $10 tip, bro. We really appreciate that. We always appreciate your support, brother. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. 100%.
Go ahead, Rob.
Just real quick to compound on what you boys are saying, yeah, with the lack of preseason, you see it throughout the league right now. This isn't just the Flyers problem right now. I've been familiar with it with some of the New York teams, part of the A2D New York coverage, and it's going to be something that they have to battle. But Flyers are one of the teams that played later on in the playoff bubble. Teams like the Flyers and other teams that made it further all the way to the Lightning have a little less of an excuse when it comes to that, right? But I get it. There's a feel. There's teams are still filling each other out, filling out their lines. We had good structured lines coming into this season. That's why Game 1 was so dominant. But what have we seen since then? Flyers dropping off like flies, and we're like, okay, we got the depth to handle this, no problem. We're obviously going to, feel the loss of Couturier, but this gives Morgan Frost a chance. And then what happens to Morgan Frost? He suffers dislocated left shoulder, and he's on the IR out indefinitely. Right?
That was you're feeding right into my next point there, Robbie. So continue.
Yeah, same thing with Philip Myers in the same game, suffered a fractured rib. He's out week to week. There's somebody else went down. Maybe that feeds into your point, Brian. There's another player that I'm not thinking of right now that's down without injury.
Well, one of the Sabres, Hutton went down from the Sabres because he got a concussion from hitting the post.
But here's the thing,
Mark Friedman tonight with the face. That's
this is like feeding into my point as well.
So we were down to 5 defensemen in this game too, and that had a factor tonight.
For what? The third game in a row?
Third game in a row, yeah.
Third game in a row where guys like Provorov are playing at least half of the game.
But you saw it in baseball and you saw it in football with lack of a little less with baseball, certainly with football, lack of a preseason, more injuries.
Yeah.
And guys aren't getting stretched out the way they should be. And injuries, they play a huge factor. Right. I can guarantee you the collapse of the defense wasn't because they weren't putting out the effort. It's because they're tired. It's the third game where most of these guys are playing 30-plus minutes a game. Most of these guys don't see 30-plus minutes a game in 2 games. And now they're playing 30-plus in a game. They don't have the stamina built up for that. So they get a little bit of leeway just for that issue alone. But it's like I was saying before this game even started. Rob, I think I said it on the one of the I think it was a Morgan Frost post. We're going to see where this depth of this team is really going to come into play and how important it truly is to have some of those guys that are ready. Because we're going to need them early. Couturier's out indefinitely. Morgan Frost indefinitely. Mark Friedman to be determined. Phil Myers week to week. It's not something you want to deal with early on in the season, rather even at all. But just be happy that all this stuff is happening early on, not when you're in the middle of a run trying to clinch a playoff spot.
You see, I would be willing to give them leeway if it wasn't for the fact that they didn't have this game won and they let the Bruins have it. That's my biggest problem with that. Like, against Buffalo, sure, I was mad, but you know what? I realized, okay, I overreacted. It was a blowout. We played like shit in the first period. The Sabres made us pay for it. And in the end, we weren't going to win that game. It was just a bad game. We recovered the next day very well. By the way, Bobby Stevens saying, I want winners. I want people that want to win. $1.99 donation.
We appreciate it. We appreciate Bob.
But, this game, this is the game that bothers me because it's like you have it won. You have it won, but you're going to let them back into the game. And Jesse's putting out a good point. Our defense is traffic cones, standing around and watching the play happen. A lot of times, yeah, I've caught them standing around just not doing anything. Like, the fuck are you doing? Like, get on your fucking horse and start getting on these guys. Don't let the Bruins get their passing play going. They got very comfy, especially in the third period in our zone. And again, it's a struggle that we saw against the Sabres. It was a struggle even with the Penguins. Yeah, we won those games, but the Penguins got comfortable in our own zone too. And again, turnovers. Failing to get the puck out when we need to. There's a lot of issues with it.
In the NHL, just like in professional football and baseball, it doesn't matter what the lead is. No lead in professional sports is safe. I don't care what the number is. 2-0, 4-0, 7-0. We've seen teams come back and win games that way. So I agree. It was an atrocious third period. And like I was saying to you guys in our chat, Boston controlled the puck the entire third period.
They did.
Yeah. They should have definitely not let off the gas. And they did. And they let Boston back in this game. There is no denying that. You can't you can't defend it. You really can't. But, Carter Hart was caught out of position a little bit. He let up some really bad rebounds. So I'm not going to blame the defense completely. I'm going to put a little bit of blame on Carter Hart, which is what a lot of people don't do. But Carter Hart did not look good tonight. He looked good early on, and he looked good in the first half. But in the final 20 minutes, he looked shaky.
Yeah, the rebound control was atrocious. I touched upon that earlier. But in regard to the defense, to the previous commenter there, Brian made a great point. Past 3 games, been down to 5 defensemen, and you're getting different pairings within that due to injury from either game to game or even worse within game. Now, you got a good coaching staff that shouldn't have – there's no excuse for that. But they're having clear communicational issues. And some of that stems from a lack of preseason as well, mixing and matching D pairings for just these current times. And the end result is what you're seeing, standing around like cones. But there was a couple times in terms of 2 defenders went to one side tonight. You can't have that.
No, absolutely.
And to their credit, there were rushes that the Bruins had that they cut them off. And they did a real good job of getting their sticks and knocking away a pass and also boxing them out. Provy did a really good job boxing out a couple of guys before they could even get a shot off on Hart. And so I give them that. They weren't completely garbage. It was when the Bruins got set up. That was when they had problems. They couldn't get the puck out of the zone. When the Bruins were on the rush, they did a great job handling it. It was when the Bruins got set up that they started having problems. And the Bruins, by no means, were they perfect on that either, because when the Flyers got set up, they had their problems too. But again, though, at the end of the day, you cannot allow a team to get comfortable in your zone. You have to make it impossible for them to get set up. Now, is it hard to do when you're not used to playing 60 minutes? All right, fine. Yes. But here's my overall point I'm going to make here, and this is something that needs to stick in their heads. You're going to deal with shit like this every season, not just this season. You need to be prepared for this. And yes, having a preseason didn't help anything, but you have to get ready for it. You have to adjust to it, and they're going to make that adjustment. So that's the thing. They'll get those adjustments. They'll start to get that wind under them where, okay, I can handle 60 minutes. They will. Right now, though, you can see the exhaustion. It's clear. Third period, hell, overtime. Did they look like they were on a rush? Fuck no. Every time they had the puck, it was very, very slow. Very slow skating. 3-on-3 was boring. Weird to say. It was boring for a period of time. Flyers had a few real good chances, but then you deal with Tuukka Rask.
Not on that Jake chance. I don't know how he doesn't score that. He even elevated the puck too.
I wouldn't even go to say that overtime was boring. The Flyers pretty much owned the puck control in that overtime period. They gave themselves a couple of really good chances to score the game winner, but Tuukka Rask stood tall.
He did.
He stood tall. Even Lawton's shot. Lawton was about to roof it, but if it didn't hit the numbers, well, I shouldn't say if it didn't hit the numbers, it wound up hitting the numbers and going high. They put themselves in position to win. They just couldn't beat Rask.
Here's the thing, though, and the annoying part of it is, Oh, and by the way, Boston media, fuck you, because you've always constantly said Tuukka Rask isn't a good goalie. Fucking Bruins fans, too. They're like, oh, Rask isn't that good.
We
The
had a
fuck are
Bruins
you?
fan
Are
in-
you fucking high? Are
we
you
had a
fucking
Bruins fan in
high?
here earlier. There is one comment I really want to address real quick because I don't agree with it whatsoever. Where was it? Anthemio, I think his name is. And I apologize if I butchered your last name. No one plays physical or hits enough. I agree to that. It's all stick checking. The Islanders exposed them last year, and no changes were made by Fletcher. There's a reason why there was no changes made by Fletcher, because he wasn't sure what the situation was. The cap situation for every team is not very good.
No.
A lot of teams are already at zero. A lot of teams are at zero. Fletcher had no room to really move for anybody. And he don't want to bring anybody in to clog the pipeline for the young guys. And that's the other thing too, is this Flyers team is still young. They're still young. They're still learning. They're still making mistakes. And some of them are costly at times. Yeah, and you saw that tonight. It just annoys me when, people want to bring in the physicality. Okay, yeah, I get it. Hockey's a physical game. You need some physical players. I agree. I agree to that part. And I agree that the Islanders exposed the Flyers last year. But in that same breath, to say that there were no changes made by Fletcher, and that's part of the reason why they are where they are, I don't agree to that. Because how many teams out there really made a lot of changes? Not many. Maybe you saw a player or two go. Free agency was not very active this offseason because of the flat cap. You're going to see that for the next couple years. Teams are going to be limited on the moves they can make. I don't expect the trade deadline to be 30 plus like they have been, because it's not going to happen with the flat cap. Teams are making strategic moves based off of what they're doing. A team that's buying all in, okay, I see them making a couple moves like Vegas going out to get Pietrangelo. Maybe St. Louis going out to get Torrey Krug. Capitals going out to make the couple moves that they made. Because these are teams that are buying. Teams like the Flyers, who are just pretty much coming out of a rebuild and are a playoff contender, not a Stanley Cup contender, a playoff contender, are going to try and make things work with what they have because they're still plugging in pieces to get to that final level. And the Flyers still have a bunch of pieces that aren't in place yet. You still have Wade Allison. Morgan Frost is still yet to be determined. You have a couple guys on defense. Cam New York. You want to plug all these guys in, but you want to bring in guys as well who are going to clog up the pipeline. It ain't going to work both ways. Gustafsson, you think he's going to stick around long? No. As soon as Cam New York's ready, he's out. Justin Braun, he's out. The pieces aren't quite in place for this team to be a Stanley Cup contender yet. There's still a couple to go.
Joe has said, check the tape. I am one of the few that haven't anointed Carter Hart. I've been a Flyers fan too long, and I know better than saying he hasn't been sharp since last year's playoffs outside the 2 shutouts.
I mean, he's been good. I'm not saying that he hasn't been good. I'm just saying in this game, specifically in the third period, he didn't look like Carter Hart.
Well, Kyle, he pretty much summed it up. Hart stood on his head in the first 2 periods and then fell apart in the third. And
I agree.
One or two more saves, and the game ends in a win. Wouldn't be a surprise to see Elliott on Saturday again coming off of a shutout. That wouldn't surprise me if Elliott's
No,
back.
I would put Carter Hart right back out there. Get him back in the swing of things and keep that confidence in. That's the other thing.
Yeah, true.
Too is guy has a bad game, you have him sit. What does that do for a kid's confidence, especially a kid like Carter Hart?
True.
Whose work ethic is out of this world and demands nothing but greatness, not for his team, but for himself. The kid wants to be a Hall of Famer. The kid wants to be one of the greatest goaltenders of all time. That work ethic is he's 22 years old. He's not near his prime yet. And look at how good he is.
True. And let's not get mesmerized by Elliott's shutout. Yes, Elliott's shutout was really good, and he made some real big saves for the Flyers there, but the Flyers were also playing better. They played like shit in front of Hart in the first game against Buffalo. So that also helped Elliott in his case getting that shutout, although he still came up with some big saves. Joe's saying we're also 3-1-1, which is a great record. Over 56, it's 33-12-11. I mean, hey, if that would be the case.
Got to get more shots. Keep that pace.
Well, here's the thing. Here's something to keep. It's a bright side to this early, and I can't express enough, early season. The Flyers power play is above the league average right now. They had what, 2 or 3 power play goals tonight? They had 2 against Pittsburgh. I think they had 1 against Buffalo.
Yeah. So, and that's a good thing because that was a problem that they had in the playoffs last year. Their power play was shit, but this year it's been so far playing pretty darn well. Penalty kill wise, they've been pretty consistent. Penalty kill, it's not been great, which unfortunately you want to fix that. But
the league average on that.
Yeah, so I mean that's the problem. When I said it was consistent, I didn't mean it was a good thing. The consistent, but if they can get that fixed and get that special team back under control, that could definitely help them moving forward. Kyle's saying Patrick played really well when I watched him at Lehigh Valley. He just looked a step ahead of everyone at the lower levels. If he gets things figured out, they'll be dangerous. I don't think Nolan Patrick played all that badly here this evening. I think he played pretty darn well. He was being aggressive on the puck from what I was seeing. He was trying to get in on some of the stuff that was going on. Ironically enough, it wasn't the young guys who got up on the score sheet. It was the veterans. JVR had 2 goals. Claude Giroux had his first. And actually, Giroux is 1 away from tying Eric Lindros, apparently, in 8th all-time in power play goals. So that's interesting to note. Jake?
I could just get a word in real quick for Jake.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
He's got 700 points on the season and 2 assists passing Mark Recchi tonight. The Vets stepped up tonight, and that was the difference from what we saw in the playoffs. So if you're highlighting the silver linings at this juncture, I got to throw that one out there. JVR really playing well, having good net front presence so far this year, sort of taking on that Corey Perry role that he played for Dallas Stars in last season. That's going to be good for this team if he can continue and contribute on the score sheet as well as the intangibles that he brings. But it also raises his potential trade value. And Priz, a few comments back, threw out the suggestion of JVR for Subban. And if you can make it work money-wise, he's a dick, but I kind of like that idea.
I'm actually currently talking to Joe about another possible deal that I didn't even hear this rumor yet, but Josh Manson. You can have him. You can have him. It'll just free up a spot for Jamie Drysdale and Josh Mahara.
And, Eileen saying good night. Night, Eileen. You have a good night.
So soon?
Night, night.
It started. No.
Yeah, what Bruce was actually throwing out an idea. Would you consider a trade of JVR for PK Subban to take up a defensive position, which is one bad contract for another bad contract? Would you be willing to go with that? Now, how do you feel about that, knowing the fact that Subban would be taking up a slot that would most likely block a young player?
Rob, you can go. I've talked enough so far.
That's the thing, though, because it would help right now because, we're down 2, right? But this is why you have depth, and you know what I mean? But, if I'd rather play, less minutes for Justin Braun and having a PK Subban, I'm more fine with that than holding a youngster spot.
I say screw it. Don't even make a move. Bring up Cam York. Why not? Give the kid a chance. He had a great tournament. He looks good. He looks like he's the real deal.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll turn out to be that guy that Provy needs on his top pair.
I mean, that's something Anaheim needs right now because the storyline is the same.
I like Provy and Sanheim. I like that. And they played, both of them played. You can't fault them for tonight. Both of them had pretty solid games this evening.
They did. I do like what I was seeing from both of them. I mean, it was either way, though, the way you look at it, it's simple. The Flyers, they had a weird first period. It was back and forth, feeling each other out. There was some opportunities for us, some opportunities for the Bruins. Flyers played really well in that second period. Looked like they were going to take control a little bit, and then the third period they come out flat. it was complete fucking chaos. And then wound up going to overtime. Flyers couldn't put the puck home, had some great opportunities, ultimately lost in a shootout because it's the Flyers and we don't win in shootouts. And that's it. We gave Boston a nice little package wrapped up in a bow. You're welcome. Hopefully we can take that present back on Saturday. Jesse saying, what's the deal with Ghost? His ass can go too. JVR is making laughable money.
JVR has been the only one consistently scoring goals inside of TK right now, though.
Yeah, I think JVR is more of the laughing one right now.
He seems happy on the bench this year so far. He's 3 goals in 5 games, 4 goals in 5 games, something along those lines.
He had that clutch goal that tied the game for us because we almost lost the game in a friggin' third period. At least we got a point out of it, and that's thanks to JVR. And
real quick, since we were just talking about defenseman real quick, I got a quick story for you guys. You guys will appreciate this.
Sure, go ahead.
I can actually kind of just rub it in your face a little bit. So I was talking to a guy at the hockey store the other day. We'll call him a source. I'm not going to reveal who it is. Mm-hmm. But he's best friends with a certain player who is playing in Anaheim right now. Well, apparently this player was about that close to inking a deal in Philadelphia. About that close. Robbie, I think I told you this last night. Maddie, I didn't tell you. I don't even think you read the message.
No, I did. I just want.
So,
I didn't say anything. Go ahead.
So let's see if you guys think this would have helped the situation. If Anaheim hadn't offered Kevin Shattenkirk double the money Philadelphia was, do you think he would have helped this Flyers defense right now? Because he was apparently that close to signing here.
Definitely
at the time, I think he would have. I mean, his game's sort of fallen off a cliff lately now.
He's been playing pretty well in Anaheim.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I wasn't sure.
I'll say it this way, though. I mean, hey, if he wants to make money, he's already got a cup. If he wants to waste the rest of his career down in Anaheim, so be it.
He's got a better chance of winning in Anaheim than in Philly. But boom!
I don't know. Last place is a little hard to actually win a Stanley Cup from. But anyway, all right.
Well, I mean, maybe you would actually have a show. Ooh, I like that background.
Ooh, nice.
Nicely done, bro.
I like that. Whoever made that, bravo. But, okay. So.
Yes, I was right about Bobby Ryan. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, Bobby Ryan. Yeah, he's having one hell of a run right now with Detroit, man. He's getting a bit of a resurge right now. But anyway.
Yes, Dan, he's on a 2-year contract, but it's a very cheap contract.
Yeah, it's a movable one. Even if you can move him at any point. It's not really a big, huge deal for Justin Braun. But anyway.
Like 1.2 or something like that.
The Twitter question that we had going on today, which was brought to you by who, Brian?
The poll question? AllCampusOC.com.
Yes, AllCampusOC. Discount code A2D for 15% off. You can get all of your sports memorabilia. Listen, man, like I said, you want to rock the team pride. Doesn't matter what team it is. Could be the Flyers, could be the Sixers, could be the Eagles, could be the Ducks. Either one that you root for, allcampusoc.com. That's the place to go.
Speaking of, got this bad boy in the mail.
Nice. Like it. That's pretty.
Really?
That's very pretty.
Elephant Center.
It's disgusting. Get off.
You're disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my Ducks one.
I'm just kidding.
So
yes. I'm a little on edge tonight. You know, the shutout loss, aches and pains. I got to go out and see Dr. Paul Vidal immediately. Help me with my mental issues as well as my physical issues. Specialized physical therapy.
My guy. That's what I'm talking about right there, man.
I got a little comment here from the sweeps hotline because he likes to text sometimes. Tell those idiots, Maddie, fucking Rask is a pimp. 50 career shutouts, like 2.2 goals against average. Fuck Boston. Fuck Paul Revere. Fuck Sam Adams. Fuck Brady. Fuck everybody. Like I threw that last part in.
No, but seriously though, he's right, man.
What did Paul Revere have to do with any of this? What did
I
he
did it
do?
like this. I did it like that. I did it with the whippable bat. So
What did Paul Revere ever do to deserve that? I don't get it.
I don't
Leave
know.
him alone. Leave Paul Revere alone.
But I think sweeps as follows went up big time in England. Anyway, so
British didn't come. He didn't lie.
they did. They did. He did not lie. He did not lie. They would have had a perfect play set up for the colonists if he hadn't ruined it.
Joe, what you
The
mean? Anaheim Ducks jerking off in the basement watching other teams play playoff hockey. What?
He said the
who
Anaheim
hurt you?
Ducks, by the way, in case anybody wanted to know.
Who hurt you as a child?
Well, that's who hurt Brian as a child was Gritty. But
I mean, if you go to the playoffs and you don't win anything versus not going at all, is there really a difference?
at least you had a shot at it. It's better than
Yeah, but you still walk away with the same thing as a team that missed the playoffs.
Yeah,
Nothing.
but then the team isn't threatened to be moved and relocated and changed into another Coyotes team. That won't draw any money. Anyway.
Here's my guy. He'll help me out here. My brother from down under, Damian Price, saying top show. Let's go Ducks. Let's go. Yeah, but you know what? We have one of the best prospects in all of hockey right now. And you know what? He'll be up before the year's over. I guarantee you that.
You have Comtois, right? Oh, I'm sorry, Comtois. Sorry.
Comtois. And he's got more goals than most of the Flyers do at this point, minus JVR.
Well, you said before though, you don't know how long that's going to hold up since he's on a good line.
He hasn't had a goal. He hasn't had a goal since. But you know what? I'll tell you what. That kid line of Steele, Terry, and Comtois has been ridiculous. They just can't seem to cash in. And as far as the prospect goes, I'm talking about Trevor Zegras, who is in fact the real deal. And I can't wait for him to come up this year. Because at the rate that they're going right now, as far as offense goes, and they are once again at the bottom of the barrel for offense, as they have in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, they need that offensive guy, and Zegras is going to be that guy.
I will say this though, and we'll talk about this in a moment with Dan Schrock saying AV apparently said after the game we lost in the skills competition out there. Meaning the shootout, I would assume, but I really think you lost that game in the third period more than anything else. But
absolutely.
But anyway, Don, gotta love it. But
wait, Don, this isn't anything new. We've been going back and forth for what, almost 6 years now.
I know this is a weekly occurrence, but it's all love,
especially when games start.
Yeah, but it's all love really at the end of the day, because you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. It's boring if everybody agrees with each other, you know? But anyway, so one thing I will say too about your Ducks there, Bri, I haven't been watching the games, I've been watching the highlights. Dude, man, even though they've lost, they've been playing pretty well. I mean, yeah, they've lost some games, but they've been up there. I mean, they were keeping up with Vegas. They shut out Minnesota. Gibby did one hell of a job there, you know. They weren't playing bad, you know. They couldn't get the puck to go in that last game against Minnesota. They had some great chances on Kokkonen, but just couldn't get it to go.
You know, they had a good game against Talbot for the most part. It's just, you know, sometimes the bounces just don't go your way. They hung around with Vegas in both games. They played well for the most part. So sometimes the bounces just don't go your way. It is what it is, and that's hockey, and that's what happened tonight with the Flyers. And you know, they had some bounces go their way in the second, and then in the third period, it did like that. They started going Boston's way.
True. Kyle Elliott back to the Flyers. Well, I don't think it's Cole Caulfield, but
Cole Caulfield's in Montreal, brother.
I mean, if we had made a trade for Cole Caulfield, I got to give the credit to the Canadians for thanking you for giving us him. But
I agree that with the Canadian James Wilder, shootout stupid needs to go. I think we're all in agreement on that.
The players are bored doing it. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell's wrong with the tie? Get rid of it.
I didn't understand what was wrong with the tie either, but I think it was Kyle's comment. Everything else he said was right. You just got Cole Caulfield wrong. That's all. Believe me, the Flyers would be lucky to have a kid like him. He's going to be a stud too.
Kyle.
Love it, dude.
That sums it up right there. Oh, that's okay, man.
Love it.
And Brian, he's saying he's got the same hood on there. Prism does.
You wearing it right now, Priz?
Hey, where can they get those, by the way? Since we might as well bring it up.
I mean, you can get this one at PhillyDrinkers.com. We also got this one in a Nike hoodie as well. Just came out. PhillyDrinkers.com. A2D, get all your merch there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You can get this shirt as well there now.
Oh, yeah. You can definitely get that shirt there for all you guys who hate the Penguins, which I think it's just about everybody. But Kyle's right. There's plenty of young players in the pipeline. You are going to win them all. These are the games though that make you want to rip your fucking hair out because they're the winnable ones that are tough to swallow. Priz, you gotta word that differently. You need to word that comment differently.
What, that one?
Love you, Chris. I do, but dude, out of context, it really comes across really, really bad.
Joe's proposing do the 10-minute 4v4, 10-minute 3v3, still no score, and end in tie. So he wants to bring the ties back, which, again, it would end in the same way. It would be, 1 point for each team. There just wouldn't be an extra point sitting there, which I will admit there are teams who do ride that to a playoff position. So sometimes teams will be like, oh, okay, if we lose in overtime, it's all right. Doesn't matter. We got a point. That's all that matters. We're 1 point ahead of this one team. But anyway. Although the Rangers did play to a shootout one time in 2010 against the Flyers, and that bit them in the ass. Anyway,
I think I got something I got to read from Sweeps. I'm awaiting confirmation.
Okay, but anyway, so So with that, sum the whole thing up. Flyers do take the loss here. They take the piss is a better word for it in the shootout, 4-3. And Joe's saying, I don't think you should get a point for getting there. Huh. So you think that no point should be awarded for a tie. Interesting.
Maybe not necessarily, but even a shootout. Robbie, what do you think about that? Because I agree. I don't think you should get a point for getting there.
No, I definitely think you should. I'm just old school like that. I'm a little older than you boys, and you fought hard for that tie. You fought hard for that 1 point, and it meant a lot. The points have kind of gotten inflated a little bit from the shootouts. That's why I kind of made that reference before. And think about those times where you're down 4-1 in the first period and you battle back to tie it up 4-4 to send it to overtime. And then you maybe they come out and score right away. First possession, second possession. You're not going to give them a point for that effort. I mean, I know they're not all like that, but a lot of them are.
My dyslexia kicked in. I actually reread that comment. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was, so I'm just going to go over here for a little bit.
Yeah. Correcting Brian. He's saying Don went heel on me. That's what turning on someone means in wrestling terminology.
I thought it was a little different.
Oh. Okay, so Joe clarifies. No points for getting to OT, but if it ends tied after 4-4 and 3v3, then both teams get 1 point. So that's what he meant for that. But anyway, so gentlemen.
Thank you, Morris. I figured that one out.
Donna's saying, Brian, get your mind out of the gutter. Jesus.
I'm tired. Right. I haven't had a day off since Christmas Day. So my brain is ain't exactly working right now.
You would think things would calm down after the holidays. But no.
Not when the governor reinstated hockey and everybody's going out to the hockey store to pick stuff up, and you have 3 or 4 straight days of 14, 15 grand days. So
ooh. Yeah, that's busy to say the least. All right. So Excuse me. We go to what's going on around the league, and a lot happened. So besides the injuries that happened to the Flyers, a lot of players. They kind of keep removing players until it gets 1v1, and then eventually goalie v goalie. Oh my god, I'd cry laughing if they did that. Oh my god. Goalie versus goalie, so they get the puck and they just swat at it with their paddles and take shots from all the way down the other end of the ice. But here's the thing. Here's the rule. The goalie can't be in the net immediately. The goalie has to stand off to the side, and he's got to try and catch up to his crease in time before the puck gets across the line. I don't know. We'll do a 3-ring circus overtime. Why not? It's anything to avoid the fucking shootout. Anything to do it. Anyway. So, all right. Going around the league, unfortunately, some bad news if you're a Washington fan. You're going to be without Ovechkin, with Kuznetsov, and several other players. Yeah, 4 whole players, because all of them decided.
4 games.
Oh, 4 games. But I believe it was 4 players, was it not? I think it was.
It was all the Russian players.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say it like that, but it really was. Samsonov, Orlov, Ovechkin, and Kuznetsov.
They all decided to have a vodka party in the hotel, and, well, that's breaking COVID protocol, and so they all got suspended for a period of time.
No Spagonia.
And so, yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. So if you're a Caps fan, bite down and take it for the next for the next few games. That's the best advice I can give you, at least moving forward.
And I say JT. I think Philly signed JT within the week by Sunday. It's my prediction.
I would agree. I don't really know.
I think with Atlanta coming into the mix now, that's going to kind of delay things a little bit.
I talked to Tommy a little bit about that earlier today, and I think that's just an agent's ploy for Phillies to get this done.
I won't put it past it.
That's kind of why I'm saying it will. You know what I mean? But I'm outside looking in. You're in the fan base, so you tell me.
No, I mean I could absolutely see that because that's what a lot of agents do, because they're going to try and ploy, especially since he wants to be here. He wants to play with Bryce. He wants to build a team here. He's won a championship here. He's found a new home. So, I mean, he wants to be here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did pull the ploy to get him signed and sign him close to the number that he wants. And if they do sign, I do think he does sign within the week. Whether it's here, I don't know. We'll see. I hope it's here. I don't want to lose JT. He's the best catcher in baseball. Although, Mets making moves. Making moves.
Roto feels me. He's picking up what I'm putting down.
I hope so. I hope you guys are right.
They love Hove. They love him because I'm always pro your team on air.
I love. Listen, part of the reason why I love you. Part of the reason. There's many other reasons, but
it's on my hat. It's real talk. I don't care if I'm a fan or not.
Listen, I think the Mets put themselves in a position to be a third-place team this year. Maybe even second place. I don't see the Nationals doing anything. Braves is still the team to beat in the division. I think the Mets will be the team that's right behind them. I think Miami could be a third-place team.
If they retain Ozuna, if Ozuna walks and goes elsewhere, and I even read a little rumblings about Mets today with Ozuna. I was like, oh, my God.
Well, the Mets apparently are going in after Trevor Bauer. And I didn't hear Ozuna, but there was one other player I heard that they were going to be in on.
Brad Hand.
Who was it?
Brad Hand.
Mm-hmm. If the Mets can lock up those two guys, the NL East is going to be Phillies will probably definitely be a last place in. Let's just put it to you that way.
Yeah.
Morris Longo saying, "What's the magic number to clinch a playoff spot too early?" I would say it's still a little too early to gauge that. We really won't know. We probably won't know until around, say a few weeks left into the season. And maybe not even. Maybe a week left in the season because of how quick the season is. It may be very tight in our division. For other teams, maybe not. But for our division, yeah. Even if you're first place, it may very well come down to the wire.
Right. Well, 4 to make it. So I mean, if you really excel in the first 2/3 of the season, you can put yourself in a position where maybe you can clinch one of the 4 earlier on. But yeah, magic numbers come into play May. I'd say.
Yeah.
Now I'm rhyming. Oh my goodness.
you're like
Oh
the
my
Grinch.
goodness.
I'm speaking in rhyme.
I love that movie.
Oh.
Oh, I got to see
All
who's
right.
scored for LA. I got a bet riding on that.
Well, boys, I've been teasing them in the YouTube and Facebook chats, and I got to drop this right now. You all know that I work at another place or whatnot, and this is actually, a lot of people say they have like an inside source. This is actually legitimately inside source material here. And the inside sources tell me that Jonathan Toews of the Blackhawks will be retiring at some point in the near future due to this mysterious illness that he has. The person that told me this, they have a strong inclination as to what the illness is. But for me, that would be irresponsible for me to report that at this time. I mean, there's HIPAA laws, and I uphold confidentiality. But whatever it may be, we may have seen the last Jonathan Toews. I'm sorry, Priz. I know you are a big fan. Hopefully, this is wrong. I'm hoping that I'm not dropping like breaking news. You know what I mean? That we're going to hear about in the weeks or months to come. But if it is, I have respect for the man. You want to see the best of the elite perform in the NHL. But if this is a career, you heard it here first.
Well, let's hope that's not the case, because we don't, obviously, for that same reason, we don't want to see Toews go, because he's an elite player. He's he's something special. He helped put something special together in Chicago, and he's a big part of that Blackhawks organization. And that would, if that is the case, they take a huge step backwards in where they were as far as their progression, getting back to being a playoff contender.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to see anybody go when they're it's kind of like anything. You want to leave on your terms. You don't want to leave because you're forced to. It's sad to see it happen to anybody. It's even more sad to see it happen to an elite talent. Right. And it's a shame, really. And say what you will, I know the Blackhawks used to terrorize teams in the Western Conference, but you got to respect the man for what he did. He was Captain Serious, and he was one of the best. He was one of the best players, to play the game in this generation. There's no doubt about it. And 3 cups don't lie. Yeah, he had Patrick Kane, but without a leader, that team only has a star player. Without your leader, what do you got? You need a leader, and he's that leader. So hopefully he isn't retiring, but if he is, you know what? Godspeed, and you got nothing to be ashamed of. You had an amazing career. You had 3 Stanley Cups to your name, and you're one of the best Blackhawks captains of all time, maybe the best. And that's saying something, because that's an original 6 team. So I know it's possible, but you could argue 3 cups. That's pretty impressive in this day and age.
Not a lot of players in this league can say that. Not a lot of players can say they even saw it once. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that is the blessing there. And, hopefully that, that there's more to life than just hockey, But typical scumbag that I am, my first reaction to this was, why couldn't it have been Cade?
Wow. Wow.
I really shouldn't be shocked by any of the things that come out of your guys' mouths anymore. But sometimes you still get me. You still get me.
That's because you have a big man crush on Patrick Kane.
I do. I do love Patrick Kane.
What just I missed it. I just walked in the room and Pove was off the screen. What did I miss?
Pove said something.
Actually, I'll just go back on the replay. It's fine.
Sure, go ahead on the replay. Better than repeating it.
On a plus side, though, I hit on one of my bets tonight.
Daly, I said stop talking to me, Daly.
That's funny. I wasn't really talking to you anyway.
Ew.
I'm here. So therefore you're talking to me.
Hence why I waited till you went away. And you keep coming back. So clearly you want to talk to me.
Go on. I'm not here. Matt, you see how uncomfortable I make him?
The only thing that I said was that I hit on my bet tonight. That's all I said.
Matt, look at him squirm.
I'm not squirming.
Good poker face.
I'm not squirming. I got nothing to squirm about. Check the replay on that too while you're over there.
Oh, all right. So, Priz was asking if we saw the Stutzel goal. I did. I saw the replay of that game against, what was it, Toronto that he scored that goal against? Or who was he scored that goal against? Either way, I did see it. It was nice.
I think it was Toronto.
Who?
Okay.
What happened?
Stutzel, his first goal. Did he score that on Toronto?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. He did. Thought so. Yeah, man, that was that kid, we knew what he was going to be. We knew he was going to be something, and he's already showing that. And it's like, oh boy, Ottawa. By the way, let's take a look at Ottawa for a second. Holy shit, Ottawa put this team together, piecemealed it, and with the young players in the mix, god damn, Braden Colbert turned out to be a pretty good pickup for him, and Derek Stefan's been playing like his old self. Christ, that team is killing it right now. They gave Toronto one hell of a run for their money, and it's like, wow, Ottawa may actually be something scary in this division. They may be enough to piss a team off. It looks like they are.
And what's interesting is that, compared to past drafts, that's just a reflection of how good of a draft that the 2020 draft was. That you're seeing so many of these prospects that generally in hockey you don't see this soon. I mean, you definitely get, when McDavid was drafted, you were seeing him day one. Crosby, same difference. And in this case, you do that with Lafreniere, but seeing that with Tim Stutzel, seeing that with Cousins, for Buffalo, was it Derek Cousins? Dylan Cousins, thank you. Dylan Cousins for Buffalo, and then one or two other players or whatever. It's just interesting that are we really seeing like generational talent at an all-time level coming about in the league? Or is this a reflection of the times that, as we saw in baseball, you saw a lot of young pups way ahead of schedule due to that truncated season? Are you also seeing that here because of lack of opportunities to play elsewhere?
Interesting.
Because, obviously the AHL is up and running, but I'm not sure any other league besides that who is.
I think, I don't think any of the
one junior league was trying to get going. That was the WHL, but there were some issues they were having, so I'm not sure if they actually got underway.
Right.
You want to talk about a surprising team so far, and I realize, Ottawa's record doesn't exactly display how good they've been.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about Montreal real quick?
Oh, yeah. Montreal's been real good, too.
Let's be real. They don't have a regulation loss yet.
No.
They've had a point in every single game they've played. Everybody wanted to sleep on them last year in the playoffs and say, oh, they don't deserve to be there. The Flyers should have beat them a lot easier. No. The one thing that Montreal was missing over the last year or two is veteran leadership. And they went out and got some this offseason. Bringing in a Tyler Toffoli. Bringing in a Josh Anderson. Getting rid of Max Domi. Although I do like Max Domi, so I'm wishing him nothing but luck in Columbus.
He's having some struggles, though, unfortunately.
They brought in guys who were leaders. And that's something that this young team has been missing. And I understand, Ted, that they're not in the best division, but they're still playing really good hockey. They're beating Vancouver right now 3-2, and they're pretty much have controlled the entire second period.
And also on top of it, Nick Suzuki's been playing real well, picking up right where he left off. You've seen, obviously, Carey Price is going to give you great effort no matter what. And, Tyler Toffoli had a huge goal against the Vancouver Canucks yesterday. So, I mean, what can you say? Montreal, everything that they've been doing has been working for them. I think they figured out how they're going to be a tough team moving forward. And, that Montreal team's going to be nasty. When we get back to the regular Atlantic Division, it's not going to be possibly the normal 3 teams sitting up there in the top 3 spots. Maybe Montreal can frustrate a team enough and sneak into 3rd place. Maybe. But we'll see what the offseason does after expansion and everything like that. But if everything stays normal like this in terms of the team and how they play and they're consistent with Price's goalie, they may take 3rd place in that division, may move one of those other teams down. That would be big in the Atlantic Division, in the regular one.
Rob, any thoughts on Montreal?
No, they're legit, man. I mean, I love the blue collar teams. You know what I mean? And then you're seeing some real skill coming about. I like the off season, as you just broken down, really improve that team. And in the end, it's all about how far your goalie takes you, and they got a pretty good one.
Absolutely, and I know you were big on. Yeah, I know you've always been big on Tyler Toffoli. How do you think? I mean, I don't know if you've gotten to watch any of the games. How do you think he's fitting in so far?
I haven't watched too much or whatever, but basically from the stat sheets, it seems like he is.
Yeah, I've thrown it out there. They're on NBCSN right now. I'm currently watching the game. That's part of the reason why I brought him up.
Nice. A little topical. I mean, I can't see him not, because his game just translates well to what they're doing up there in Montreal. So I thought it was a great signing at the time. It was definitely someone that I thought, they were just so severely limited with the salary cap, but, someone that you could have worked out for. And, we could use that strong physical presence, that I think one of our commenters dropped much earlier in the show, revisiting that a little bit. What I thought was interesting about tonight, that you see Bunneman, who got a lot of playing time last year in a depth role, in a lower 6 role, but you saw him being brought up and not Sam Morin. And I get it, he's learning a new position. He may not be ready to play at this level with that. And if that be the case, I'll eat some crow here. But I really think that'd be a nice shot in the arm for that physical presence. And we're not going to eat your shit like fucking your boy McAvoy tried to fucking lay down in the 3rd period tonight.
Yeah.
I'd even, being that you're seeing that this season a lot, almost every game, not almost every game is the same opponent back to back. Why not throw him up there? Go rip someone's head off. Old school Flyers hockey.
I mean, here's the thing. You could put him in. I wouldn't slot him in necessarily in the 4th line, because the 4th line, ironically, has been pretty good, so I don't want to break that up. But maybe move him 3rd, sit him in the 3rd line maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, that's where they were playing Lawton on the wing, right? So, you could shift him back to center, and reestablish that depth up the middle that you lost with Coots and Frost getting knocked out, him back to center, but see, he looked good in camp. He looked good in the scrimmage. He basically, what I was looking for with Morin is, was he covering the spots? Was he taking care? And he's going to be strong to, be defensive minded, coming from being a defenseman in terms of responsibilities. But I was looking at him, what was he doing without the puck in the offensive zone? And I liked what I saw, but I'm not watching. I'm not in there to practice. I'm not EV, so I'm not going to question that. But eventually, that could be an idea to give a little bolster to that physical, as you big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love where your head's at with Morin there, Rob, because that's the whole reason why they're moving him to that position anyway, because they feel like there's a lack of physicality in the offensive side of the puck. And, maybe part of the reason why he got sent down wasn't because he doesn't deserve the spot. It's so he can get a chance to go down and continue to learn the position. I mean, the Flyers are in a situation now that, you can't really rely too much on bringing guys up to learn certain positions. You bring guys up to compete at this point of where they are.
Yeah.
And Morin, at least being on the Phantoms, can continue to learn and improve at that left wing position. So maybe at some point this year, maybe more in the second half of the season, you finally see Sam Moran come up and be that physical, old school, tear your head off when you have the puck type of hockey that Rob was describing.
Yeah, and maybe that'll, and like Rob said, maybe be the shot in the arm that you need for this team. You know, that could be the case depending upon where you're at in the trade deadline. They may come not soon enough. But let's take a look here at some of these other comments. Kyle Elliott was saying, going to be interesting off season to see who the Flyers leave unprotected for the expansion draft. Still feeling Ghost in that spot.
I think they leave a few. I think Ghost is definitely going to be the headliner.
Yeah. Don was saying another team that has been good is the Florida Panthers. Panthers competed well. And, you know, I think that they have a tough spot because they were supposed to start, but because the Stars had that issue, they couldn't start ahead of other teams. So they got a little bit of a behind the 8-ball situation they got to get rolled up from. But they look good for the beginning, so we'll see if they can keep it up. Be the first time.
Josh Anderson with another goal for the Canadians. His trade's looking better and better for them as it goes.
In Prism saying I got to roll up some electric lettuce. Oh, my God. That's great. He's saying you had that Hiroshima bomb that you dropped on him. There, Pope.
Yeah, talk about Taze. You know, hey, you know what I mean? Like I said, this is reported, this is rumor, this is speculation at this point, but strong enough that I felt confident to bring it on air, you know, and go no further with it.
True.
Yep.
That's tough. You know, it's hard, man. It's hard to say goodbye to anybody, especially when it's not on your terms that you're leaving. That's really shitty when that happens.
Well, it's such a weird time because, I mean, hockey was already really vague with their injury news and designations. And then you add in, you know, COVID protocols where, you know, HIPAA laws are involved and you got to keep things under wraps, you know, a lot of people, it caused a lot of people to have to speculate more than normal. So that's why I say, like, keep it with a grain of salt, you know?
No, absolutely. And it's, especially with situations like this, that's all you can do. You know, you can't necessarily prove or disprove it, but it's just one of those situations where, all right, I'm hearing something. Let me just keep an eye on it and see where it's going. If I got to correct myself and eat some crow, I correct myself, eat some crow. That's something that I think the three of us do well, is if you know, we need to, we will. And by the way, Montreal just made it 5-2. 2 goals in about 30 seconds.
Jesus, they are smacking the Canucks right now. Jeez. I mean, the Canucks, let's take a look at the Canucks, man. The Canucks have come out, they've been pretty flat this coming out of this year. I mean, for having a really strong playoff run last year, they come out this year and they're just, yeah, I think what you brought up earlier with the lack of a preseason, the lack of a training camp, I think that's really hurting the Canucks right now.
Jesus H. Christ. Toffoli's got 3 goals and 4 points already. Yeah, I'd say he's fitting in like spaghetti and tuna fish.
Spaghetti and tuna fish, huh?
What, are you more familiar with peas and carrots?
Yes, I am.
So,
oh, shit. I love you guys.
I think that's why the show works. Oh,
yeah, it's got something to do with it.
Maybe it's because Brodo just constantly tortures you. I don't know. I've heard both stories.
It ain't just him torturing me. You guys torture me too sometimes. Rob, not so much, but more you, Maddie.
I try. So, let's throw out the Don, by the way. Detroit's playing well, too. I mean, we talked about Bobby Ryan earlier. He's been putting up some numbers. I mean, he played well against Carolina. They're continuing to play well. Gotta like what you're seeing from Detroit here. They're seeing some hustle from them, some attack. They're not just, getting beat. They're firing. You know, Anthony Mantha was playing well. Don Dunn's even saying, I need Anthony Mantha to step up for the Wings. Anthony Mantha played pretty well in the last game. He did get a goal. You know, so, I mean, I've been seeing nothing but good stuff so far from the Red Wings. I mean, sure, have they been perfect? No, but so far, so good. At least in my opinion for the Red Wings compared to where they were.
Now, the level of competition hasn't been quite stellar. I mean, we're talking about the LA Kings and the Anaheim Ducks here, but
good point.
But Minnesota Wild off to a 3-1 start. That's a little surprising for me. You know, looking up and down their lineup, you know, getting some you know, solid play, but on all three levels there. Is that something that they can maintain?
You know, interesting. Well, they're going to have a real test once they face Vegas. Then I think they face Vegas and Colorado or St. Louis. I think we'll know where they're at a little bit more. You know, I think that's when we'll get, okay, can the Wild handle them? You know, like, for example, you know, San Jose, they actually played pretty well against St. Louis, and I was surprised by that, actually. I was like, ooh, after coming off of an 8-0 smack, and I thought St. Louis was going to pound them into dust. But San Jose actually played pretty well against them, albeit, though, in the following game that they won, Evander Kane took 4 penalties. So his game has gone immediately down the shitter, and I don't really blame him for that. I blame what's going on in his personal life, really, that's contributing to that. But, you know, if they show something good against St. Louis, against Vegas and Colorado, Minnesota may have something going on this year, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, you look. I mean, nothing gets you too excited about their lineup. I mean, I've always been a Jordan Greenway fan, you know, but he's been slow to develop on this level. He's had definitely flashes. You know, Nick Bonino is always a solid hockey player to have on your team. Nick Butstad, you know, Zach Parise, you know, he's getting long in the tooth at this point. I think Kevin Fiala is a very important player for their team. Jared Spurgeon on the defense, along with Ryan Suter. And what is it, Krill Kaprizov?
I think you were right, Kaprizov.
You know, he's their team leader in points right now with 5. So, I mean, you know, you could get a little, you know, surprise from there. But I think in the end, it's the goaltending I'm just not comfortable with. Ryan, I think earlier in the show you were talking about Talbot.
Yeah, I mean, he's been all right early on. He hasn't done anything really like crazy. He had a really good game against Anaheim the other night where he only let up the 1 goal to Nicolas Delurier, who, you know, got a great feed from Kevin Shattenkirk, who I shouldn't say finally, scored his first goal point. Oh my God, my brain really isn't working today. First point as a Duck. So, you know, he looked good. I mean, he hasn't done anything crazy, and you guys know how I feel about him. He's not going to be your bona fide, you know, franchise guy. He's going to start 42 to 47 games of the season, and you know, but he does a job. He's good for where they are right now as far as their progression back to dominance, if you even want to call what they had at one point dominance.
Yeah, well, 3 of the 4 games that he started, 2.27 and a 925 save percentage. So, you know, so far, so you know, he could be steadfast there. You know, sort of that, again, I'm overusing the term, but blue collar netminder.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. He's got a better defense in front of him than he's had in the last few teams that he's played for. I mean, you got Jared Spurgeon, you have Ryan Sutter, you have Jonas Brodin, you have Matt Dumba just as your top 4 guys. I think you're making out pretty good right there if your defense is those 4 guys.
Yeah, that's true. They make the goalies look a little better.
Exactly.
Yeah. Night Joe. But yeah, with Minnesota, I feel like this is a team that I think they kind of need to miss the playoffs a couple of times. You know, I feel like this team needs to get a wake-up call, you know, in my opinion, to kind of remind them, hey, maybe you're not as good as you think you are. Because I feel like sometimes Minnesota is fooling themselves. Because, yeah, they made the playoffs last year, but it was an inflated bracket. Yeah, they made the playoffs another time the year before, but they made it barely as a wild card, and they got smoked. It's like, I don't know. I feel like Minnesota needs to miss the playoffs a few more times for them to wake up and realize maybe you need to retool this team.
You're probably right in terms of development and where the team needs to go, but looking at the West, which in my opinion is probably got to be the weakest of the four realigned, like who do you see getting in the playoffs over the Wild in the Sharks, Ducks, Coyotes, or Kings?
Well, ironically enough, now this is just early season, so they could totally go south again like they did last year. But if the Sharks wind up actually maintaining this and their veterans actually play as well as they have, maybe they sneak in. If the Ducks, maybe they get on their horse and they bring up Drysdale and maybe they get some real big offensive play and Gibby plays out of his mind. Maybe they sneak in, over Minnesota. Yeah, and over all that, if Darcy Kemper plays well and Phil Kessel plays well, maybe Arizona sneaks in at the last minute. There are a few candidates that can get in over Minnesota, but if they don't do anything this year, if Arizona does whatever the fuck Arizona does half the time, and San Jose stays at the bottom and Anaheim is still just rebuilding for next season, or for the future, then at the end of the day, it's just, okay, Minnesota fooling themselves again, thinking that they're ready, that they're at the right level. It'll take a few more seasons before they get woken up.
Well, I mean, I honestly don't see I don't see any of those teams really climbing over Minnesota right now. I think Minnesota's in a really good position to be a playoff contender, battle for a wild card spot. Definitely don't see them getting a division spot. But the thing is, Anaheim is still in rebuild mode. As long as the offense stays stagnant like it has been, they're not going anywhere. Even as good as John Gibson has been in his career for the Ducks. They just don't play well in front. Kings are in full rebuild. I think maybe San Jose could. They're getting some good play early on from their vets, like you were saying, Maddie, and Marty Jones has looked pretty good. I think Minnesota's still the better team than all three of those teams, and I'll even throw LA in there. I just think Minnesota's just flat out better. They're just in a better position.
What about Arizona? Do you feel like they're in the same spot as Minnesota?
I think Arizona's on their way back down. You get rid of Derek Stepan, which I thought was a mistake. You get rid of which Strom did they have?
Wasn't Dylan
a couple years ago? It was Dylan actually. It was Dylan Strom.
That's right. They were to Chicago, didn't they? I forgot all about that.
Because they got what's his name? Rob, who's the center they got from Chicago? You're really high on Arizona.
Oh, Dylan Strom.
No, they gave up Dylan Strom. Who did Chicago give up?
Chicago gave up Nick Schmaltz.
Nick Schmaltz.
There we go. Yes.
I like Nick Schmaltz. I think he's a future top line center, and I think he's got a lot of good still left to learn in his game. They have some good players, but they lost too much. I thought they lost too much this offseason, losing Taylor Hall, and I think they lost Christian Fisher to another team who's I don't understand how he isn't playing yet. And then Lord knows what's going to happen with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He might get traded. He might not.
Oh, yeah. What is it,
breaking news coming in, too. I got more breaking news for everybody. This just in. Pierre-Luc Dubois to the Ducks. A source told David
Don't play with me. Don't play with me.
Since you called me, like Maddie and Brodo, Buster Balls, and I thought I had to do my part.
Paul was just like, I got to step my game up. Oh, that's funny.
I was about that close to believing it.
Actually, since we're talking about that.
Until that comment popped up from Rosca, I almost bought it.
Yeah, fuck that. Okay, I'll take the blame. That should have kept that comment off because we could have actually sold him on that. Damn. But anyway,
You do know I can see all the comments on my side too, right?
oh yeah, good point. Damn. Well, you know what? No, actually, I could have kicked
I mean,
you
it was
out
a
for
good
that
tie.
moment,
Like I
but
said,
then we wouldn't have been able to do anything about it.
I
Anyway,
was that close to believing it. I was almost had to close out my Facebook chat just to go check that.
Oh yeah, I
so
never bring up that side. That's so cool. That's right. I forgot about that.
That was a great effort, Rob. I'll give you that one. That was good. That was good.
Hey, they might have a lot of pieces that Columbus could want in terms of young pups. If they want, like, let's say if they find themselves in that third or fourth slot due to Wild maybe coming back down to earth, and Dubois still whining like a bitch trying to get out of Columbus, I never like getting a player that's whining to get out of somewhere, though. But I mean, it almost seems like it's inevitable that your team's going to do that from time to time.
But it's so weird that Dubois wants out of Columbus. They're not a bad team.
Yeah.
no, they're off to a bad start, but they're not a bad team. It just. But actually, let's talk about that since might as well. Well, Rob is just killing it on the segues today.
Rob, are you well rested tonight, Robbie, or something? Like you're more on point than you normally are.
Be honest with you, I woke up probably about 6:30, and with the idea of I'm gonna have to get that midday nap for the show, and it never happened.
So it's the lack of sleep that's making it happen. Gotcha.
Yes.
Sometimes that's the way it works.
So, gentlemen, Don hitting the nail right on the head. Where do we see Pierre? Where do we see here Dubois ending up? It's an interesting debate. I mean, we talked about it a little ad nauseum last week about Dubois and a possible trade for the Flyers. But realistically, where do we honestly see Dubois ending up if he ends up anywhere? He would. I couldn't imagine a team not wanting to take him. But what do you think?
Believe it or not, well, no, he just signed a contract, so he's probably not going to go there. I could see him going to a contender, put a team over the top.
Yep. Two that came up for me this past week, logically, you would think there'd want to be a reunion with the guy that drafted him. And John Davidson, who's the president of the New York Rangers, was the president of the Columbus Blue Jackets when they drafted him in the first round overall. So, there has been talkings. There has been some, between the organizations. Apparently, they're asking for way too much than the Rangers are willing to sacrifice to ask for, excuse the pun, a king's ransom. Maybe like a player like Adam Fox involved and what have you. So I think my likely destination you're not going to like it, but I think he's a Montreal Canadian.
I could see that. They got the space for it. They could use the extra help. I don't know why, but there's a feeling in my gut he goes to Boston.
I was thinking it myself. Because they just got their first set of even strength goals. They don't have Pasta. We don't know when he's coming back. So that could really much be a shot in the arm to their offense that they would really want so that they can score more. Because also depth, too, is actually surprisingly somewhat an issue for them. So, yeah, I think I agree with Brian. I could totally see the Bruins wanting to snag him. And they'd be willing to trade. I mean, it's not. Yeah, they'd be willing to do it.
I hit on both of my bets again tonight. Let's go.
Nice.
You got the prop? You hit the prop?
Mm-hmm. I hit both.
Nice.
McKinnon's got 2 points and Kopitar's got 1.
So, all right. So we actually, ironically enough, we all three have the two teams that hate each other the most in the NHL. Actually, Montreal and Boston.
Maybe Ted, I don't know if I see Nashville. Good possibility of maybe Florida, depending on where they're positioned later on in the season. Jesse, St. Louis is a good possibility. I have to look at their cap situation. Vegas is definitely not a destination unless they give up a guy like Pacioretty.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that. He's
Yeah, I don't
playing
see
well
that.
for him.
But yeah, I could definitely see, to Prism's point, and Rob, when you said Montreal could be a good destination for him, and I do agree. I could definitely see. I've heard Jesperi Kotkaniemi as a name involved with the Montreal Canadiens in a move for Pierre-Luc Dubois.
That would be crazy if they do move Suzuki and Jesper. But you know what? We were talking about this with the Flyers. You know, you would have to give up a young player with a lot of promise to get Dubois. Would the Canadians be willing to make that move? I could see it happening. You know, I think, Rob, I think you're right on the money. It could very easily be Dubois going to Montreal and being in a Montreal jersey.
That's nice, winning $20.
Tommy, I think they're going to go back to Hart. And Brian talked about it earlier tonight that you go right back to him. You keep the kid in the starting role, keep his confidence going, keep his routine going. If this were back-to-back games or even a day in between, maybe I could see going back to Elliott, especially coming off the shutout. But 2 days between starts, you're starting your young, franchise goaltender, and he played well enough in those first two periods that hopefully they make some adjustments in these next 2 days defensively, plus also having a full sixth healthy defenseman that'll make some changes in front of the goal and hopefully flip the script as we did against the Buffalo Sabres.
Well, not even just that, Robbie. You get him to work those kinks out because clearly he had a couple of them, especially in that third period, and that's the important thing for young goaltender. Like I was saying earlier, he's only 22 years old. Like he's not an aging veteran. He's not a guy who's in the middle of his prime. He hasn't even started his prime, but he still has to develop a little bit. And a lot of do I think he's a franchise goalie? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to be a part of the reason this team, gets back to glory? Absolutely. But he still has a little bit of growing to do. And the team in front of him still has a little bit of growing to do as well. So, you got to go right back to him. You got to get him back out there. You got to work out the kinks and let him keep that confidence. Because I guarantee you, he's probably beating himself up in the locker room right now. Because he's that type of player where if he makes a mistake, he's like me. Like he's hard on himself. So he's gonna sit there and he's gonna want to get back out there because that's a competitor that he is.
Yeah,
he's going to want to get back out there and prove that he's the goaltender that we want him to be.
True, and and also we said this. We know this about their history. We saw it with Buffalo when they played like garbage in that first game. The Flyers are a very good team when they lose a game. After they lose a game, they recover very, very well, and they say, "Okay, you got us last time. We're getting you this time. We got the receipt. You're getting it back this time around." That's the kind of team the Flyers have been. If they lose a game, they come back very strong the next game. So, and also I think the Flyers themselves are probably beating themselves up because again, they gave this game back to the Bruins, so they definitely know now, all right, we can't do that again. Next time we got the Bruins where we want them, don't give it back to them. Do not give it back to them. So I think the whole team will rebound on Saturday because that's what this team does.
You even saw within this game. Let us not forget that the Bruins took the lead there in the third period. And a lot of times the way that goes, you go into the third period with a 2-0 lead, and all of a sudden now it's 4-3 with what? There was like about 7-6 minutes left to go in the hockey game at that point, maybe a little bit more. I've seen this team a lot of times just be like, I guess they came back on it. See you tomorrow. And you didn't see that tonight. And leaned on, Kevin Hayes, who, I didn't necessarily fully agree that he could potentially maybe be a future captain for his team. But, man, he took on a strong leadership role tonight.
Absolutely did.
True. Jesse was saying earlier, in terms of the Dubois situation, players hate John Torts. Torts can be a hateable person.
But he wins. He wins hockey games. He's a winning coach in the NHL.
And Jesse was saying Max Domi's situation is crazy as well. Torts loves to make his points. I mean, here's the thing, though. With Torts, though, with Columbus, I really don't think that there should be much ill will towards him. I mean, yeah, is Torts, is he the easiest guy to get along with? No, he's an abrasive son of a bitch when he wants to be. But at the end of the day, he's made Columbus an actually strong team. Columbus is not a pushover, and it's been a pushover in most of its history. When Torts got there, that team turned right the fuck around and started being a really dangerous opponent to deal with moving forward. So, I mean, say what you will about Torts, he got results for this team at the end of the day. You know, you can't deny that with Columbus.
No, he's made them a defensive team. They started playing defense because that's his style, that's his system, and like I said, he's been successful everywhere he's been. He's a winning coach. He knows how to win. He knows what it takes to win. Sometimes he's easier to get along with than others, but the one thing I will say is the guy is always, and I mean always, entertaining to listen to at a post-game press conference.
Fuck it. He's a cheap Arthur Fonzarelli wannabe.
Meanwhile, Don saying, Jesus Christ, Montreal is on a different level right now.
They're playing very, very good hockey right now.
Yeah.
And Prism was saying, I like Torts a lot. And
that's where we differ.
Jesse was saying, it just seems like any stars they have won out within a few seasons.
What was that in reference to?
Yeah, Columbus. In a way, yeah, I kind of agree with that to an extent. But a lot of players do actually like playing for Torts, and I don't think you see a lot of them go. I think a lot of the players that do want to leave are those prima donna, I want my coach to be my best friend type of players.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way. You still have, Cam Atkinson, who's a pretty darn skilled player, and he doesn't want to go anywhere. I mean, he's still playing in Columbus right now. So, I mean,
Max Domi, you still have Seth Jones. You still have a really strong defense. I mean, Alex Wenberg was kind of pissing and moaning too before he left and going to Florida. I mean, who's to say he's going to have the same success under Joe Quenneville?
And here's the thing, though. Look at it this way. Look at the Jonathan Drouin situation. He pissed and moaned and bitched and moaned and wanted out of Tampa, and he got his wish. What did he do in Montreal?
I'll look up his stats, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't that bad.
Yeah, he had some flashes, and then last I checked in with him, he was getting relegated to the fourth line.
So, I mean, now does that mean that the same thing happens to Dubois? I don't know, but again, Drouin bitched and moaned. He didn't want to be in Tampa, and he goes to Montreal, gets his wish. How do you respond? That's if you're gonna bitch and moan, at least back it up. That's all I have to say about that. If you're gonna cry about being someplace, back it up with a strong performance. That's all I got to say about that. At least give validation to your bitching and moaning.
Well, Drouin has 3 points thus far in this early season in 4 games played. On all 3 of them came in the game against Toronto in game 1 of the year.
Well,
so maybe there's something to say. Yeah, his best season with Montreal was 18-19, 18 goals, 35 assists. Apparently, he was coming off an injury too last year. He only played 27 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points. Not bad numbers for 27 games, but
I think that's the hockey guys just fucking with him. It's like, you dare question what team we put you on, we're going to give you a knee injury. Deal with that.
I just think he's definitely not the player that they expect him to be in Tampa Bay, but sometimes it's like we've said before, like especially with the whole Vinny Lecavalier situation in Philly, sometimes players just don't fit certain systems.
True. Prism was saying players hated Ken Hitchcock too, but he got a cup and almost got 2. Could have had 3 if it wasn't for the Detroit Yankees.
That's a great point, though. He's absolutely spot on because, the Dallas Stars, as much as they didn't like him, they played for him. They played for the system. They played for each other. And a lot of times that's going to get you a cup at the end of the day. Oh, God, I spent too much time with you saying the end of the day.
All I know is that last Prism comment, that was inspired by that magical cabbage.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Detroit Yankees, it's a phenomenal comment.
That is a good comment. Prism is he's on fire with the hate for the Red Wings. Prism was also saying Joel Armia could get a hat trick. He got 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists tonight. Whew, he is killing it right now.
Joel Armia has been really, really good for Montreal early on and even going into the last season. Very underrated player.
Ted P saying, is there a team who you guys see would be a contender if this season wasn't a 56 games with weird divisions? It would have been their year, but they're playing in this weird season. Interesting
Great
question. Let me think.
I'm going to look at the divisions here real quick.
Everything in the West is pretty normal. Could be.
Actually, you know what? I think we're going to go I'm going to go in the opposite direction here. Because of the weird season and because of the weird divisions, I would be surprised if Calgary makes the playoffs.
Calgary's had it, yeah. They've had some issues. Although Calgary has stepped up its physical play. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to be more of a physical team.
I mean, 2-0-1 early on, but Edmonton's bound to catch fire like they will. Vancouver's bound to catch fire, and I think they will, despite the fact that they have looked shaky early on. Then you still got to compete with Toronto, Winnipeg, and Montreal. Outside of Ottawa, that could be a crazy division.
I'm going to argue with it. When it comes to I'm going to go to our division, and I would say that a team that would suffer in the situation that we're in, I would argue that it probably could be the Islanders, who I think could suffer in the, it's still early, but if it's a weird situation where if the Islanders, from what I've been hearing from some of the Islanders fans, because I've been looking at what they think of their team, they're feeling like, the team looks strong, but you take one thing away and it all falls apart. So I think that there may be something to be said. If the Islanders take a tough injury, they may find themselves in a bit of a bad spot. But if they stay strong, they could be dangerous, like they usually are. So I don't know, that maybe they might suffer from it. Argument could be also made for Washington, but that's only because Lundqvist was out with his heart condition and they didn't have a backup for him really.
Their plan in Washington was to rock Ilya Samsonov with Lundqvist and platoon him and get really one of the best ever to play the game to help. What's the word? Mold. Thank you, Rob. Mold Samsonov into making him an everyday starter now that they let Holtby walk.
Yeah. So far, though, I mean, Holtby.
Groom. That was the word I was looking for. Mold works, though. Mold worked.
But let's talk about Holtby, too. Holtby's had a rough go at it at the beginning. Do you blame that on him, or do you think the Canucks haven't been playing well in front of him?
Both.
I
don't think they've played well in front of him, but I don't think he's really put himself in very good situations either. So,
in a new situation in Vancouver, that's not always easy to come by, especially when limited training camp and preseason. Those preseason games know how to communicate with the boys in front of you.
And you just totally stole my point too, because I was about to say, he's not familiar with the guys out in front, so he's got to get used to it. And that's the beauty of the preseason games. And as much as it sucks not having them, you're seeing teams are going to be hurting because of it.
Right.
So here's one.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to your point, Maddie, I kind of feel it's in our division too. And ironically, they're in the same position as some of the Islanders fans that might be paranoid, might be not, in terms of their depth. I said it before, I said it again. Boston Bruins are a lot more of a shallower, they're a shallower team than they have been in the past. And now all of a sudden, minus Pasternak, if you were to go down a Marchand or a Bergeron right now, that team would crumple. They have fewer depth pieces. We talk about Pittsburgh having fewer depth pieces. So I think Boston would have made it in the Atlantic, and I'm hoping that they don't make it. No, I don't think they're going to make it in the Eastern Division from the realignment. So just to give that man an answer in terms of an example that I could see fit that criteria. But it's going to be interesting because, I still believe in the strength of the Philadelphia Flyers, and certainly as this team recovers from these early rash of injuries, they're going to have that depth and that strength to take number one position in this division, which they're capable of doing. But they're going to have to play a hell of a lot better because in this, like you said when you came in hot, Maddie, in this bombshell of fucking division, they could be 5th, 6th on the outside looking in.
Yeah, Jesse says, do you guys think that there's a possibility the Flyers miss the playoffs? I say we have 6 playoff teams in our division. Well, that's what makes this the deathmatch division, because it's so scary. Yeah, because you put Boston in there. Buffalo isn't a terrible team, and they definitely went out and made pieces to try and fix it. Taylor Hall's been playing very well with Jack Eichel, which is one of the things that they were very much trying to accomplish, was to convince Jack Eichel to stay. And on top of that as well, the Islanders are still a dangerous team. The Rangers are a frustrating team because they're young and hungry, and they would like to try and get back into the postseason. And then, of course, you have the Capitals and the Penguins. Sure, they may be a little bit past their prime, but they're still a tough team to go up against. Don't let the first 2 games against the Flyers fool you. They're still a tough team to go up against. It's just one of those things of, this is a tough division, but, the only way that the Flyers miss is if the Flyers' depth fails them. That's really the only way they can lose. That's the only way they fail. And it doesn't matter how great Carter Hart plays or Elliott plays. At the end of the day, if our depth does not step up and play the way they need to play, whether it's defense or offense, and we play like shit and we play inconsistent, that's how you miss. Simple as that.
Yeah. And there's been fine play. I mean, besides TK taking a dumbass penalty in this game, I've been impressed with his game. He's been really having that, for such a small guy, getting a strong net front presence. And you saw it again, him narrowly missing a goal on the doorstep, leading the club in goals and one of the tops in the league with 4 in 5 games now, 6 points overall. He's having the type of rebound season, the chip on the shoulder season that I was expecting him to have coming in 2021.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think the Flyers don't have that. I don't think we have to worry about the Flyers missing the playoffs because I don't think they will. The Rangers have not been the team that anybody thought they'd be so far. I mean, you're getting your usual suspects getting in there and creating havoc, like your Mika Zibanejad and so on. 2 big points here. The biggest point is, and I said this during the offseason, one of the biggest factors to the Rangers' success is going to be their goaltending situation. Prince Igor has not looked great.
No.
Hasn't looked bad, but he hasn't looked great.
Right. Yeah, the first game was rough against the Islanders. He recovered, but that first game was bad.
Georgiev, I don't think has looked great. Lafreniere, yet to have a point. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
He's the number one overall. I'm not saying he should have like 10 to 20 points right now, but the fact we're 3 to 4 games in, you haven't figured out a way to score a goal.
And Stutzel's the one who scored, and he was drafted the same year. So,
I mean, it's not even that, Maddie. It's, there's a lot of hype behind this kid, and they expect him to be something huge. And so far, he's kind of been a little bit of a dud. I don't think he's really played all that well. And again, this goes back to the importance of having preseason hockey.
Yeah. Those are the players that are going to struggle a lot. A big piece for them that's been off kilter is Ryan Strome. him and Panarin had a love affair last year in terms of those, cross the ice passes that they teach you not to do, but these guys pulled off. They had that connection, knowing where each other are on the ice. It hasn't been connecting this well, and he's been struggling. He has no points on the season, 4 shots in like a little over 37 minutes on 5-on-5, 6 shots overall when you add in the power play time, and less than 50% possession rating with him on the ice. The Rangers have. He's definitely. I got this. What was it? Their head coach David Quinn goes. He's still trying to find his game. He's happy with the way things. He's not happy with the way things have gone in these 3 games. But obviously, we need him at the top of his game if we're going to have a chance. And it's true.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, just looking at the top 3 goal scorers on the Rangers roster right now: Panarin, Buchnevich, and Zibanejad. Usual suspects, 2, and 1.
Hey, you've been a betting man, right, Brian? What's the biggest odds that Quinn is fired by the end of this year? Look that up.
Oh, I couldn't tell you that part. I can get you over unders. I can get you player props. Who's due for a goal? Who's due for points? But
I just busted the Eddie Ranger fan guy.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, I mean, I was big on the Rangers coming into the offseason. Maybe I was a little too much. Maybe a little too much on the Rangers, but
I think we all were. I think we all bought into what the Rangers did towards the end of that season because they were really hot going into the playoffs.
They were just as hot as we were.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little hotter.
Yeah, and a team a lot of people were fearing before the pandemic came about.
Yeah. And then they laid that goose egg. They didn't get a win against Carolina, and they were the first team out. Right. So,
And that's what the coach came out and said after game 1 that it's like they're still stuck in that bubble where they're cheating the game, not playing it full on out. And you know what? You see that with some of our young players too or whatnot. And that in terms of standing around being a spectator, to your point there earlier or what have you. And the young teams, you got to live and learn. You got to learn how to play strong in this league. Full 200-foot game, full 60-minute effort.
And that's something, I've been preaching for years about this Flyers team is they never play a 60-minute game. In the games they do play 60 minutes, they dominate from start to finish.
They do.
But jumping back to the divisions real quick, I can see Pittsburgh not making it. I can see Boston making it. Islanders and Flyers will be your top 3 teams in the division. I don't think there's anybody else that's really going to make any legit noise unless the Rangers figure it out. I think the Rangers are the only other team in the division that could potentially knock the Flyers out.
I could see in the Canadian division, I could see Winnipeg. Maybe Winnipeg gets caught off guard and maybe they take a step back. Maybe they're out in the Canadian division. Maybe, but that depends on how close everything is, which the Canadian division, I could see a lot of things being close up there because those teams I feel like are very even. Like one does one thing better than the other, but I feel like there are holes in each of them that are easy to exploit. And you see them exploiting them all the time. So it's like, sure, Vancouver's off to a slow start, but once Vancouver gets that offensive game going and Braden Holtby finds his footing, that team's going to be a tough team to beat, and then you run into the issue of, Winnipeg did get Paul Stastny back, although was Patrick Laine playing in the last game because he was out of the lineup
he did not play tonight and they still put up 4 goals.
Yeah, well, they've been off to a slow start themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. I don't know. Can Winnipeg keep that up? That'll be interesting. They could. I mean, Hellebuck is a solid enough goalie, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see moving forward because it seems like that's a team, if they suffer injuries, that could kill them at the end of the day. But by the way, since Lonnie's been a healthy scratch, are you thinking that there's movement on a trade possibility for him? Because I know we've been talking about that forever, but since he's not injured and he's been scratched, do you think that there's some movement on that?
No, I think he is hurt.
Oh, he is hurt. Oh, I heard he was a healthy scratch. I could have read that wrong. But anyway.
Yeah, listed as day-to-day.
Oh, okay.
Body injury.
Okay. All right. I was wondering that. It's like I heard he was healthy scratch. I'm like, healthy scratch?
No, you don't healthy scratch Patrick Laine.
No, and like I said, unless you were getting movement on a trade offer, then that's when it's a different story. But anyway, Prism saying
Don't expect Laine to go anywhere this year.
I mean, we've been saying that after they brought back Stastny. We figured, like, okay, they're probably not going to trade him. But again, you never know. A team could sweeten the deal and say, we'll throw you this guy too. And then they're, oh, okay, bye, Laine. But anyway, Prism saying Canucks seem like they're kind of putting too much pressure on themselves and expectations after last year's playoff run. They need to just get back to playing hockey shift to shift and relax. It's a good point. Young team, you can see them making that mistake. You don't want to put too much pressure on yourself to begin a year. It's very, very tough to get going then. And he's also said, I've come around on Ottawa. I'm giving them a higher ceiling than I did before the season started. Josh Norris looks good too to go along with Stutzel for a young guy.
Your player knowledge is outstanding, Chris. Like, you just knows the whole league. This is going to be like our freaking hockey version of Adam Schefter over here, dude. I've been studying Bo and Brian right now. You know, you put me on a task. I'm like, ooh, that's a player I don't know. And it's a third pairing defenseman, rookie, I guess, making his debut tonight for Colorado Avalanche. Has 2 minutes penalties. That's good. Making an impact somehow.
Yup. Paul Byron has just left the ice for Montreal. That could turn out to be something bad.
26 goals and 71 points for Vancouver Giants A team in 18-19. Okay. See a little offensive defenseman here in the future.
Peaked Rob's attention now. His little ears perked up.
You had the Colorado Avalanche.
Well, Don needs to not sharing the same thing. He's like, can the Wings fire their head coach, please?
I think he's got something on the owner in Detroit. I don't understand how he still has a job. I don't. I mean, Detroit's looked okay so far this season. Bobby Ryan's looked great, but he should have been fired like 2 years ago. I don't understand. I don't. He's got to have like pictures or something, explicit text messages to his wife or something. I don't know, but he's got something.
The owner sent some nudies and he found them, and now he's like, I'll put these out on the internet. I'll put these out on the internet. Not that no one wants to see them, but I'll put them out there if you don't keep me as coach.
Nah, dude. Nah, they're stock images, yo.
All these shots, according to former Mets GM, what's his name? Jared Porter.
Too soon, yeah. What a scumbag.
Not every picture you get on the internet is yours. First of all, why are you sending it to begin with?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
No means no.
For real, I get like, if I really like a girl, I might go 5 text messages before I call it a wrap. 66? What the flying fuck? I don't get it. There's like
I won't even necessarily go 5.
The world. What's that?
Mm-hmm. I won't even necessarily go 5 before I get the message.
Yeah, I mean to say that's a lot. I know. I hear you. I'll usually throw out 1. I don't hear you from 3 days. I'm moving on to someone else.
I don't hear from you in a couple hours. I'm gonna be like, all right, well, maybe not. I can always go back.
Hey, I don't hate your game.
No, that's probably why I'm still 35 and single. I just keep it moving. I never stay put.
Thing, man.
Too many.
Well,
it's the Derek Jeter way of life, man. I'm too many with Foley.
Maybe that's my problem. Is I move on too fast, and I just don't necessarily give that other person a chance.
Too many girls are
is interested, and I move on, and I just never figure it out.
Bryce got the timer.
I'm an idiot that way.
He sends the text, and he's got the timer right there, and he hits the timer. And too many girls, the timer goes off, and the text just comes like, "Nope, too late. You had your chance. Fuck you. Moving on." Like, it's at the very moment. It's buzzer beater text, and it's too late.
No, that's not necessarily true. I exaggerate a little bit just to kind of try and be a little funnier.
Oh, anyway. Prism saying I literally watch CBS Sports and NHL Network when I'm off. Very few shows in between those. So that's where the knowledge is coming from.
Yeah, see, I have, I love Netflix and I love watching different shows and binging different shows. I just binged the show Chambers. It's fantastic. It's out there a little bit and maybe for a little bit of a younger audience than myself, but it was a very captivating story. And it gets me away from, I could have like the NHL Network on, I could have MLB Network on, you know what I mean? Just catching little tidbits in the background or whatnot. But I like to rest the brain a little bit and just get into that fictional world for at least a couple hours,
Yeah, I do the same. I do try to watch the highlights though of the game because I feel like you can kind of get the vibe of the game a little bit, and I do follow a guy on YouTube, the hockey guy actually is his name. And he has a lot of knowledge on it because he watches the games. So, he'll tell you sometimes how the game went or vibes that he got from the game, which usually he's not wrong on. But when you watch the highlights too, you kind of get the vibe of like, okay, this game went south real fast for this team because you see 1 goal, 2 goal, 3 goal, and you can look at the timestamps. And those times will tell you everything. It's like, wow, that happened in the span of 5 minutes. This team fucking fell apart. The doors got blown right the fuck off of them real fast, But with that, Don also, I mean, not Don, Prism also was talking about were you guys tracking Bowen Bryams tonight on his debut? And he followed that up with a lot of people think that Bram will be just as good as Makar. For what I've been hearing and reading coming into the year, big shoes to fill.
Woo. Woo. If they have another one. Woo. I'm going to put my money down on Colorado winning the Stanley Cup this year.
I saw that 26 and 75. So I could see that. I mean, if he could translate that to the pro level.
I don't know. No.
Okay.
I think Colorado's scary as is. If they have another Cale Makar in their system, I'm going to put my money down on them now.
I'm really looking forward to a playoff series between them and Vegas. I really hope they meet each other. And I hope that Colorado is healthy when they meet Vegas because that will probably be the playoff series of the playoffs. It most likely will be. That would probably go 7. But let's see here. Dixon, 4288. Let's talk about it. I hate Giroux. Worst captain in Flyers history. No. I think we can safely say no. That is not true.
Why are you saying that? There's so many Giroux haters out there, and I get it. He's disappeared in the playoffs, and a lot of you forget about a lot of captains on this team. You forget about we had Jason Smith as a captain, for a year. There's been some suspect captains on this team, right? But meanwhile, we're gonna pick on a guy that's top 5 or top 3 in every Flyer stat. I mean, I get it. It's not all about the numbers, but if you're saying, okay, it's not about the numbers, you're talking about a guy that I think is one of the most emotional leaders, will go in and check a Pittsburgh Penguin and go in and score, the opening goal of the game. Like, playing with that, fierceness, that snarl that you see on G. I'm not the biggest G fan either. When people want to bash on G, if it's legitimate, I'll support them. You know what I mean? I've had other more favorite players in this league, but to say that he's the worst captain, that's a bad take, man. That's just trying to stir up the pot, and we like to do that here. So in the end, thank you for your comment.
Mm-hmm. And to top off of what you were saying, to piggyback off it was, especially last year in the playoffs. This is a guy that doesn't fight. He avoids scrums. How many scrums was he in defending his players, defending his line mates? I get it. I understand where everybody's coming from. Maybe he's not the best, most vocal guy, but when he's out on the ice, I mean, we're not in the locker room. We don't know what's going on in there.
True.
Kevin Dineen was a captain for the Philadelphia Flyers. Remember that. And I love Kevin Dineen. Don't get me wrong. But he's wanted to put down some suds after the game. Slapshot was loosely based on his life.
I mean, I might catch some flack for this one, but I didn't think Mike Richards was that great of a captain.
No, I like Richie. Richie was a favorite player of mine just because of the way he played. But if you're talking about a great overall captain, no. I mean, he wasn't terrible.
I think he had moments, but I don't think he was as consistent as I like to usually tout. I'll admit I kind of fly that flag a little too much. That Richards wasn't always the best captain in the world for the Flyers, but that's because I just like the way that he would physically get in and beat the shit out of somebody if he had to. But at the same time too, one player that I'm going to hold up as probably the worst captain in Flyers history just because so much hype followed him and we got him well past his prime was Forsberg. That was a mistake. That was a big fucking mistake. Yes, he was still one of the best players in the league when we got him, but 1 year, and then after that, the injuries caught up with him because he was the type who liked to throw his body around, and that kind of play caught up with him after a while, and it happened to catch up with him when he was a Flyer. And
I hear a lot of the situation, a lot of the reason why he was having a lot of issues with his ankle was because of his skate.
Which I heard those too back in the day, but still, at the end of the day, though, it's like that to me has to be the worst. That at least in my time, because that's disappointing as hell when you get a player like Forsberg back and he's still supposed to be at the top of his game and he's not. It's like,
but that's something that's out of everybody's control. That's out of his control. There's not much you can do about injuries. Like, they happen. It's a part of the game. Like, it's a very unfortunate part, but it's a part of the game. And you know what? They brought Forsberg back because of his play, because of his leadership, because of everything. They didn't know he was going to get injured. It's not like they were saying, all right, let's sign you to a contract. Year and a half in, you're done. We're just going to continue to have ankle issues with you. I mean, it's not like it was planned. So it's
true.
That's you can't fault players for injuries. You can't. You just can't.
I would say on the disappointment level, though, for me personally, it was pretty high. But that's just me personally. It's a disappointment thing, not necessarily at the fault of the team, but it's just one of those things.
It's a little bit more understandable as a disappointment because you bring a guy like Forsberg in, and you're just finally like, oh my god, we finally getting to see Peter Forsberg in a Flyers uniform, and then that happens. Like, I get that. That's like. It is what it is, though. Like,
same thing with Pronger. It was disappointing because right when you make him captain, he gets his injury and he never plays again. It's like, great. You give him the C and he gets hurt. By the way, we did interview
another
Forsberg.
Situation where it is.
Check that out. That was awesome.
It's another situation. It is what it is. It's the risk you take playing the game. He took a puck to the eye, and that was pretty much his career.
Yeah, but Giroux is far from the worst captain. There have been, and Rob brought up a real good one in Jason Smith. Jason Smith was just a placeholder. We didn't have someone take the captaincy after Forsberg went down. We just threw the fucking C on him. And then Richards took it off of him immediately after that. So it was that, it's again one of those things of Giroux's not the worst captain. And also, look at tonight. He scored the first goal for the Flyers. He took the situation into his own hands and said, okay, no one's going to shoot the fucking puck. I'm going to shoot the fucking puck. Yes, has he been guilty of passing it too much? I will agree there. He has been pass happy at times. But he took the bull by the horns this time around and said, fuck it. Since no one wants to score the first goal, I'll fucking score the first goal. And that's exactly what he did. And so with that, Giroux's not the worst captain in history. You got to dig a little deeper than that to find the worst captain. Anyway, one last question here from Chris saying, what would you all think if the Leafs and the Flyers would look like if they switched to Bars for Giroux? That would be interesting.
I mean, Giroux would not. A lot of the pressure would be off of Giroux. More pressure would be on Tavares, and I think you put Giroux on a line with guys who shoot the puck, you're going to get a lot more production out of them. I think Tavares is one of those guys who is kind of a similar play style to Giroux in a way that, he can shoot. We know he can shoot, but he's another player that's not shoot first.
So what you're saying is nothing would really change.
I mean, I'm not saying that nothing would change, but Tavares is not afraid to shoot more. Giroux he had a few seasons where he was shoot first, and then just like the rest of the roster, they're just too pass happy. They don't have that legitimate goal scorer, which I think a guy like Voracek needs.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, gentlemen. So before we sign out for the evening, Robbie, you brought up an idea for bringing up some 3 stars. You want to bring that out? Do you have any?
Yeah, actually, in case you wanted to roll with it, I did have one, and it goes with my opening line that I was talking about with Joe Exotic. And the premise of this, and I ran this by these boys, maybe anybody that's still with us tonight can chime in whether they like this idea or not. But it's called 3 Stars of the Week, where you bring up anything in the hockey world, the sporting world overall, or any like current events, right? In terms of just like outstanding performances in just life, or just cool stories. Like we always, we've done penalty box in the past where it was always like, the negative, but it's a way to kind of highlight the positive of the week and reward them with where each one of us will bring up one, and then you guys listening can vote for who's the number 1 star, who's the number 2 star, and who's number 3 star. We determine it among ourselves, whichever it may be.
All right.
And with in revolve to Joe Exotic, his people were getting him ready for his pardon, right? And they went out and they rented this total stretch Hummer limo with a jacuzzi in the back, ready for him to come out of prison in style and profile. And they had the typical exotic wardrobe going out, but he was like, he had to do his hair before anybody could see him. But just to his people, right? Having like that type of like freaking L. Ron Hubbard fucking Scientology level dedication to a guy that basically killed innocent tigers for a living. That's another story. To at least to his people, I definitely nominate them for number 1 star of the week for your consideration.
That's a good one. Brian, you got anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Bobby Ryan. Just the way that he, has battled back with his off ice issues, and he's really stepped into a role with the Detroit Red Wings and has really started, shown that he is back so far on his game that he had in Anaheim before going to Ottawa, and showing that he can get back to where he was at that elite level, and he's not afraid to really drop the gloves too. So this is probably like the 3rd or 4th time that I've seen him fight within the last couple games of the season, and it's just nice to see Bobby getting back, getting healthy, and pretty much just getting back to being Bobby. So it's great for him. Great news to hear, and I hope to continue to see him continue to find success in Detroit and find his way back to being an elite goal scorer in the NHL.
You want to see it?
I definitely want to see it. Just not be for being a former Duck, just being a guy from New Jersey. I hold these guys a little bit closer to my heart. Guys like him and Johnny Gaudreau and JVR, TVR. All those guys that are throughout the NHL from Jersey. You got to represent your state, and those guys are a little bit closer to my heart.
And by the way, Bobby Ryan, in case anyone didn't know, he did suffer from issues in terms of alcoholism, and it really affected his game while he was in Ottawa. He had a great run in Anaheim, and then he went to Ottawa and things dipped down, and that was a big reason for it. And he got out of that situation and got his game and his life back together in Ottawa there towards the end. And now he's in Detroit and he's killing it right now. But for all those out there who are suffering with any kind of issues, substance-wise or alcoholism-wise, Brian, we do have a new sponsor, a sponsor that we are very happy that we have on A2D. What is that sponsor?
Yeah, I was unprepared. Many of us and our families deal with mental health and addiction issues. We are happy to support the Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. If you need mental health therapy or addiction detox, please call 856-651-1817. I'm sorry, 8117, and tell them Tom Arnone from A2D sent you.
Yep, absolutely. And there's some of the information right down there. I'll leave that up there for you guys for a little bit. Okay, so who would I anoint as my star of the week? For me, I'm going to anoint Terry Crisp, the color commentator for the Nashville Predators, because he has made some hilarious comments for his time. One of the comments he made was he was talking about one of the rookies saying he's got to get his big boy strength. And I'm like, oh my God, that is hilarious to hear. He also said he got his adult legs today. I'm like, adult legs? What the fuck? What are you talking about? And Terry Crisp, as a former player, former coach, he did play for the Flyers and he won a cup with them back with the Broad Street Bully days. But yeah, I'm gonna put him in there, and absolutely put him up as my star of the week. So for me, it's Terry Crisp. For Rob, it's for the people who were waiting for Joe Exotic to get out of jail. And Brian, it's Bobby Ryan for you. All right, then, guys. So those are our nominees for the Stars of the Week. Feel free to debate amongst yourselves who you think truly deserves to be the star. And Don.
Oh, that is a great one, Don.
He was trying to pick the Buffalo Bills fans.
So if you don't know the story, Maddie, and I'm sure, Robbie, you do, after Lamar Jackson got hurt in the game on Sunday or Saturday, whenever they played, I don't remember what day they played, Bills fans started donating money to his favorite charity. They raised over $250,000 for the charity, just from the Bills Mafia.
Nice. Well, good for them. Good for them. But yeah, so feel free to debate that amongst yourselves. We'll bring that to you guys week to week. We'll if we got the time at the end of the show, we'll definitely let you guys know ahead of time that we're going to be bringing that up, so you guys can be ready to vote on it. But that's just kind of like a sneak preview of what we got coming for this segment.
For the sake of this week, let's just give number one star only to the Buffalo Bills fans. I love that.
Sure. Yep. Honorary first one, Buffalo Bills fans. You got it. Congratulations on you.
You can't get any better than that.
Bobby Ryan was another good one too.
Yeah. Oh, and we'll give one to Taze as well. So with that, guys, we thank you very much for joining us. Like we said, brought to you by the Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. But we also have other sponsors as well. We talked about Specialized Physical Therapy. If you want to get any of your pains or what have you taken care of, all you got to do is go to Dr. Paul Vidal, visit him at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com and visit him at Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey. Make an appointment online, and he'll be able to take care of the aches and pains there. And we also All Campus OC, brought to our poll question. If you want to rep your sport team, that's the place to go, allcampusoc.com. And Bri, one more time. That was the Sunrise Detox Center.
The Sunrise, the Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox.
All right, then. Cool.
You can reach them at 856-615-8117. If you know anybody that's struggling with anything, they need help, give them a call, get them the help they need. They may not thank you right away, but they will thank you later on down the road. Absolutely.
So thank you all for commenting in Philly sports content. Sorry you came in late, brother.
Agree with your comment, though. Hart was bad. JVR was good.
Yeah, it was a rough game for Hart tonight. JVR did play well, having those 2 goals. But thank you, everybody, for commenting in. Obviously, the regulars were here today. Priz, Don. John Coyle did chime in. Thank you very much, Johnny. All of you guys, thank you all so very much. You guys make this ship run. Without you guys, we're just 3 schmucks from New Jersey talking hockey, and it doesn't mean anything. But you guys do make it mean something. So that's the important thing. So thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Yes, the vaccine's out, but still wear your mask when you go to a restaurant or you go into a store. So please stay safe out there. We thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Peace and love.